roll into a little of the controversial territory. What or how do you think about like you know like personal connections and favors and how they play into that kind of stuff in youth hockey? For example, we were just talking a little while back to an agent who's got a player that is looking for a place to play next year, and the agency was saying, "Hey, like maybe would be a good spot for you." And the reason they picked that spot is not necessarily because it's the best spot. It's like we know some people that are there, and we think they'll take good care of you and do a good job with you there. Now, on the one hand, you can look at that as like politics, and they're just doing a favor for their buddy that is there, and they're trying to get them the best players so they have the best team and whatever, and they're not necessarily looking out for the best interest of that player. They're just doing what's is good for them. On the other hand, it could be, hey, I have trusted resources in this system that I know will do a good job. And like maybe there's another place that would also do a good job, but I just know and I'm familiar with this one, and this is the one that I would recommend you go to. So depending on which hat you want to wear, it can look like a favor, a personal connection, bullshit, politics, whatever. Or it's like, no, that actually just makes sense because they feel like they have people there that they trust that will do a good job. So it just kind of depends on which hat you want to look at. But what role do you feel like that plays with more so in the youth hockey stuff? But I guess that would even work.
Well, in the youth hockey side, I would say probably all of the above. Like all those situations, they're probably there. But my biggest question with that statement is, I don't understand why there would be one youth player in this world that would need an agent to set up a. I don't understand why that would be a thing.
Well, most kids, dude. I'm telling you, like even doing this recruiting stuff, like we're talking 2011s, 2012s. They already have them, and like a lot of them, and most of the higher end guys have them. So like when did stutter when did Eki get his agent? He would have been 13. No,
his draft year.
He didn't get till his draft year. Really?
Because I was,
but he was also a year younger in his draft.
Yeah,
year.
But still, that was reasonable. He's getting drafted, and that year,
but he would have been 14.
He would have been 14, 15. So that year, because there was an agent that I was going to introduce him to, and then he goes, I would, Andy, but I just met with Bob Orr's group, and that's what I'm going to go with. It was that like middle of the season of his draft year, or near the end, and that was a guy that was going first overall for sure, exceptional status. So that was that. But I don't see any reason why a kid would have an agent I don't understand.
Nonetheless.
So yes, people nowadays more than ever, I think they have connections, and then I agree with that. More and more that's happening.
Like, how much do you feel like that plays a role and like impacts a kid's ability to like move up the ladder, so to speak, or to position themselves in a?
Well, yeah, okay. So if you got, if you send me someone and we have a relationship, and you send me someone and the kid happens to be okay or pretty good, like I want the relationship. Probably, I don't do this shit, so I don't know. But I would want this relationship to go well, I think, and I would trust you first of all that you're sending me a pretty good player, and then you would trust that I'm going to take care of him a little bit. So yeah, I think it would make a difference. Like if he did maybe a little bit less or did a little bit to earn something, you might give him. I don't know. I'm not that guy. It makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense that people. Well, okay, so I remove myself from the situation. I look at it. There's a lot of people out there that do favors to get favors, right? So yes, I think that plays a role, but I don't know if it's as much as you would think. I don't know. Being honest, I don't know.
And this is kind of why I said at the start, like I'm a little over the map because I don't really know what I think about it either. I'm just kind of discussing it. Like, I guess my thing is like, it's so spoken of like it's bad, like there's just negative connotation. So if I give that example of the agent that I work with, or my dad's friend, or a kid I played spring hockey with, whatever, knows this guy, and I'm going to go skate with this guy now, or I'm going to go onto this team now because of that guy, and it's for some reason advantageous to you as a player. Like people on the outside looking in, like there's just there seems to be majority of the time, not always, just a negative about that.
Yeah.
It's like politics bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about who you know.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the
I see
and
what you're
it's
saying.
like I see the argument. Like I understand the argument, but if I have a kid who I think is a good player, and I say, hey, I know this guy who's a really good coach. Go play with that guy instead of going to play here. Like, is that bad? Like, I don't know that. You know what I mean? Like, you see what I'm saying?
I do. I do. I do. Yes. Well, now that I think in Ontario, there's open borders, so you can go play wherever you want. So I think you see a lot more of that kind of stuff. No, I don't. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. I think it can be. I don't know. Yeah, it can be both. Like it's one of those things. Like it depends, right? That's one of those questions. It depends. Like are you going to play for someone else? Like here's the thing. Like when you try to control your destiny too much, I don't know if it's always the best thing. So, like for example, kids that come in, and I understand this, so I do. Kids that so we were just talking youth hockey. We talked junior and pro. Like in junior hockey, like there might be reasons why you don't want to go to a certain city. So, like for example, if you live here in Windsor, Ontario, it's the most southern part of Ontario, but also the most southern part of Canada. And if you, for some reason, didn't want to go play for North Bay, Sudbury, Sioux, Ottawa, Kingston, because it was 8 hours away, and your parents were like, "No, I don't want them to move." Like it's a reason, but when people but you're still tempting your destiny and your fate because you don't know if getting drafted to the Sudbury Wolves and playing there is the best thing that could ever happen to you because maybe it's the perfect coach for you, or you only will go to certain teams and you play that game a little bit and it's like it sounds good, but maybe that coach is totally wrong. Maybe there's a lot of things that go good and bad. So I think for me, just for me, there it would be, and this is how we approach it. Like I talked to my kid when he was in his draft year and stuff, and it's like, what if this team drafted? He go, I'm going. Why? Because I want to play hockey. So that was his thing. So it was like, for as parents, it would have been, oh, I don't want you to go to Ottawa. I don't want you to go to up north because it's just too far. It's hard for us to get to. It's selfish, right? But for him as a hockey player, it's like it's if I get drafted to the worst team, so be it. If I got drafted to the best team, so be it. Like whatever happens, happens. I'm not gonna piss around with that because it's too many variables that you can't control, right? So I just think that's one of those things. Like when you try to control everything, I think that's where you almost kind of lose control. If that makes sense.
That's definitely a thing I see now. Is
Yeah,
there's so many
because not everything's going to go your way,
no matter what you do,
no matter what you do.
no matter
And
what you do.
sometimes that's so. That was my long way of saying like I don't know, man. It's like sometimes there's so many things at play. Like first of all, you have to be a really good hockey player. Like if you're moving on anywhere, you got to be a really good hockey player. What does that mean? There's different answers to that, but like you will know a good hockey player when you see them. And if you're one of them, God bless you. That's awesome. And then if everybody was to do this and just say you have to play in the best team, best organization, then London Knights would be in the OHL would be the team that everyone would say that's the only team I'm going to play for. And is it because they have good coaching? 100%. Good scouting? 100%. They do everything right. But for some kids, that's not the place to play. I've seen a lot of kids go in that program. It's like, no good. That didn't work for them. Had success somewhere else or didn't have success anywhere else. But I've seen some move and have success. I've seen some not cut it in London and not have success, like both. But you don't know how the future is going to go until you get there. And then the last thing is like I said in a couple podcasts ago is like I don't think people have enough adversity. I really don't. And sometimes with we look at some kids and I go, you think enough is enough, eh? But it just keeps coming. But they end up being tougher, man. They keep being tougher and better, and you got to deal with it because at some point you're going to have to deal with this stuff anyways. So I don't know, the connection thing can be helpful sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, like unless you're just like a super standout, which is that's more the rarity. There's people say this a lot of times, like there's you have good timing or bad timing, like you're there, right place, right time, and like it's just like part of how things happen. Like it's not good or bad, or it doesn't have to be good or bad. It can be either good or bad, but it doesn't have to always be good or bad. But it's people citing it as the reason why something worked or didn't work. It's like, well, because your dad was the only reason why you got this, or you probably have had that. You have
Oh, I
somebody.
told my son, I'm your biggest. I wrote this in a journal that the other day for him. So sometimes I just feel like I'm your biggest enemy.
Yeah, for sure. Or
Not
like
because I'm not the one helping you. It's
yeah,
because who wouldn't want to take a stab at me? Like
yeah,
if I make them jealous a little bit, right?
yeah, and
I've seen it. I've seen it.
yeah, so it could go from
I've
that
seen it.
to, oh,
Coaches.
you played your draft year on the Marlies. That's the only reason you got drafted, or whatever. And it's I think my point of talking about it this way is like maybe just to put a different light on it. Like it's not necessarily a good or bad thing that like there was a favor somewhere or a connection that was made somewhere, or what. It doesn't have to be this is bullshit politics and this is what's ruining my kid's chance because this kid got a favor done. Like come on, man. I think that's part of it.